Hi, this is Liz Haas, and I want to thank you for joining me today. This is actually a part 2 or continuing session 17, sand carving acrylic. Now, we had our live session, session 17 on sand carving acrylic, and I was unable to do one of the projects. So I'm doing that today for you. So you'll be able to view this, and we're going to go through making a mask and applying a mask to an acrylic award. So I'm really excited about this. I actually had American Acrylic sponsor this our products today, and I'm very thankful. And so American Acrylic, they're a California company. They're privately owned. They're a wonderful company. They ship same day. They have great products, and they sponsored several awards. So I'm doing one of the awards today live for you, and we can bring up some of the awards that you see that they sent us. Really cool designs. You have, they're all acrylic, but you have like the really nice wood base. You have the metal stand, and they just look beautiful. And you typically with laser acrylic, but we're sand carving acrylic today. And typically I would say don't sand carve acrylic, but you have to use caution. So can it be done? It can be done. A lot of people like to sand carve acrylic because it gives a smooth finish when you're blasting a negative area. However, if you have a laser, you would typically throw it into your laser and laser your item. But if you didn't have a laser, or if you had something that was like an odd shape or a big negative design, you can actually sandblast it. So we're going to do that today. Now, looking at acrylic awards, they are a little finicky when it comes to sand carving because you have the resist that wants to leave a residue, and the acrylic scratches very easily. So you don't want to rub your fingers on this surface because you'll create little hairline scratches. But you can see this beautiful area right here, how that looks really nice, a nice smooth finish. I love it, and it's really clean when you do it properly by sand carving. So today I actually have my SR2000. So SR2000, I'm using 3 mil. You're going to wash it out, and then there's no glue. So you are applying the glue. And typically SR2000 is used for like engraving deep on bricks, unpolished surfaces, stone, granite. It's because you are in control of the tack that you're applying to that surface. So with acrylic, I've found that I am going to lay down a layer of adhesive RZ2, but I'm going to do it in a little different way. So bear with me as I apply the mask if I apply the glue to the surface here. But let's talk about our artwork here. So I have my artwork. This is our print film. Okay, everything that's black is what's blasted. Okay, and then this would apply to our. There we go. So that's going to apply. So you can just see the outline of this. Okay, and then we're going to etch this. So this is what the artwork looks like. Black equals blast. You can see that we did it right here on this particular award with a little metal base. Now, I'll make the stencil for you so you can see the process of producing the stencil. But let's apply our adhesive. So this is SR2000. I already washed this out. We already processed it, but there's no tack at all. It's completely dry. So this is where we have to add the adhesive. And we're using RZ2. So I'm going to grab my little sample bottle, and I'm grabbing my paintbrush. Now, I prefer to use a paintbrush versus a foam brush. A foam brush gathers a lot of moisture. A lot of this is liquid, and it just lays it down like puddles. So if I have a paintbrush, it kind of gives me a little more control. So I'm going to take a little bit of this glue, and I'm going to put a little bit right here on my brush. Okay. And just a little bit. I'm just going to kind of dab it on the corner here, and I'm just going to lightly brush my mask here. Okay. I'm just going to add a little bit more. Now, what I'm concerned about when it comes to brushing on glue is that we have to make sure that we have a tack, so we have a nice even layer. We don't want too much abrasive or too much adhesive, but we want to make sure we have a nice layer. So a thin layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the soft side of my brush, the flat side. I'm just going to kind of smooth this out just a little bit. Just going to kind of smooth it out just a tad. And what I'm trying to do is reduce the brush strokes through here. Okay. That's what I'm trying to do right now, is reduce the brush strokes. And I can actually take a napkin and kind of clean my brush. So I'm going to grab a napkin real quick. And we're just going to kind of remove some of this adhesive off the brush. And I'm just kind of using the flat side, and I'm just trying to remove these little brush strokes. So a little more work than normal when you're applying adhesive. Normally you would brush on your layer, let it dry. But I'm trying to smooth out those brush strokes. Then you can just wash your brush when you're all done. Rinse it out. So that looks pretty decent. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it in my dryer, and we're going to let this dry while I make a stencil for you. So we're going to turn this on. I'm going to speed up that drying process. Okay, so now I have my stencil. Let's come over to make a mask. Now, making a mask requires photoresist film, so I'm using SR2000, and I'm using an electrolyte unit. So I have my stencil. I'm going to pull my material out. The film is light sensitive, so you want to make sure that you pull it out only when you're ready to use it. I'm going to take off my cylinder here and place my shiny side down. We're going to take our artwork print side and put that face down. Now I have a big stencil, so you would actually cut this down, and actually let me do that now because it is pretty large compared to the size of my artwork. So we're just going to cut this down a little bit. And if you have some smaller designs, you can certainly save this strip here and use it for your smaller designs. Okay, so now we have that here. We're going to wrap this up, pull the blanket nice and tight over the cylinder, and put this on our electrolyte unit. And we're going to expose for just 20 seconds, and that's it. 20-second exposure, and then it's done. What's happening here is my artwork is transferring over to the photoresist film, creating my sand carving stencil. We're going to develop it by using water, and then we have our mask. So we're going to take our film here. We're going to remove this blanket. And then now we're going to take our exposed film. So this artwork is now on my 3mm film. So we're going to place this here on our white board, our shiny side against the board. I'm going to take my magnet and apply that here. Oops. There we go. And set that. Now you're seeing the metal board. It's a white metal board. This is included in our mask making kit as well as our hand sprayer. So I have this hand sprayer. It has a garden hose fitting, and then you can have, there's different adapters. This adapter comes with this hose, so you can fit it to your faucet, or you can get a heavy duty adapter like at Home Depot or Lowe's or hardware store, and you can get a metal adapter to fit your faucet. So I'm just going to screw this on. I'm going to grab my towel and just kind of put this on nice and tight. Okay, and now my hand sprayer is going to provide pressure. So I'm just going to turn this on. If you have hot water, it's going to wash out much faster. I want you to look at the distance of my hand sprayer to the mask. So I'm nice and close. Now, typically you'll find some customers, what they'll do is they'll just have the artwork area and a little border around it. They're not doing the whole shape of the award. But on this piece, if we do the whole shape of the award, it helps provide an alignment. And so to apply the mask evenly the first try. So now we're starting to see this mask, starting to see the artwork appear. I want this artwork to look white against the white board. And again, we're really close here. I want you to be close when you're washing out. Now, if you're new to SR3000 or SR2000 photoresist film, if it's something that you haven't really made a stencil, start with a small stencil, maybe a small design, and get familiar with washing out. It's really easy. You just want to expose for 20 seconds and then wash out. So we're just going to wash out our border. And maybe you don't have a big sink like I have. You can certainly create a little barrier using, like, some people will put like a bin, or they'll use like some sort of bucket to place over their sink, and then that will allow them to contain the water from washing out. So now we have our stencil. I don't know if you can see that, but our stencil is completely washed out. It's no longer sensitive to the light, but we have all the black areas of our artwork dissolving and creating our stencil. So there's no weeding of any material. I'm going to place this in my dryer. Can you expose and wash at the same time? So you can expose, you can apply your exposed sheets, and like you want to make sure they're protected, and then you're going to place them on, you just want to wash them out. So as long as your film's protected, there's no time limit of when you can wash out. SR3000 is a 20-second exposure. SR2000 is a 20-second exposure. So the only difference is you're having to apply the adhesive to the SR2000. The 3000 is a self-stick film. And where some people do use self-stick with acrylic, you have to be very careful with any residue or blasting too long. If you blast too long, that residue from the self-stick material can transfer over, and then you're really having to spend time cleaning up that residue. So you want to be very careful when you're dealing with any type of self-stick film. So we have a very, very light tack of adhesive on this. Okay, and so now I'm actually going to cut around my stencil here. We're going to use a trimmer. So I have my cover paper. Our cover paper is great for making your stencils ahead of time and having that protective cover there, that protective backing. So we're going to apply this cover paper. I'm using my film trimmer, and the trimmer is really great because it allows me to easily trim all of my film. So instead of cutting this with scissors, I'm using a film trimmer, and it can break down all your stencils, especially if you have those big orders, and as well as cut your photoresist film. So now I have my stencil. Okay, and we're going to remove that cover paper, and I'm going to apply it to my award here. And our graphic artist set this artwork up for me, and what she did was she actually scanned in the whole image. By scanning in the image of the award, she was able to create a template, an outline, and then she created the artwork inside that template. So we want to make sure that we squeegee this really well. Okay, and I'm going to start to separate. I'm going to get a little corner here. And let me try over here. I have a very light layer of adhesive. Just remove that clear liner, set that aside. And since my blasting is going to be very quick, what I'm going to use is I'm going to use some painter's tape, because I'm not going to blast deep. And it's important to know when you're blasting acrylic, you will not get any depth. You're just blasting a surface etch. Basically, you're scratching the surface. That's all you're doing, is scratching it. That's your engraved area. Okay. And the blasting part is extremely quick. I'm actually going to tape this on the back here, just so I can protect my backing. One thing to note is when you're blasting acrylic, is abrasive is very dangerous. It's going to scratch. It will scratch it. So you want to protect your surface area. So I'm putting this backing behind here so that I have an area to grab onto when I blast. So I'm using aluminum oxide 150. I'm setting my award down. And I'm going to be blasting about 30 pounds of pressure. So I'm at 30. Okay, because I have to blast through the glue. So I'm going to set it to 30. Okay. Let me grab our award here. Okay. And you can see that glue and the membrane blasting away. It's very important that you make sure that all the glue is blasted. So this is where having a very light layer is key. So I am done with this area right here. This is all done. Now let's go down to the letters, my text. And this is actually, this looks done. Okay, so we are all done. That blasting was very quick. I'm going to take my air gun, and this is going to allow me to remove any excess debris or dust. The less abrasive you have pulling out of your cabinet, the cleaner your work area will be. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to start to peel up my stencil, and I'm going to remove my hand sprayer here, just so I can have my sink ready. Oops. I screwed that on pretty tight. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove my stencil. As best I can. And then I'll put it in the water. And I'm going to try and peel this up right here. Okay, great. So now I'm going to rinse this. What I'm trying to do is remove all of that abrasive that I see on the back before my hands start rubbing up against it. And so I'm just going to use my nail here. I have a soft microfiber towel that I'm going to use as well. And what you don't want to do is spend time rubbing. You just want to kind of go one direction. Hopefully you can see that okay. The first thing you want to do is just rub this resist right off. And that's a big no-no. You're going to see all these little hairline scratches afterwards. So I spoke to American Acrylic, and basically they said that you can buff out real fine hairline scratches. They actually have a buffer that can be buffed out. So let's take a look. I don't know if you can see, but I have a little residue right here in this area. Okay, and I'm going to hold it up to the light real quick and see where else my residue is. So basically a little bit in the text and this area. So I'm going to lay this down, and I'm going to apply some WD-40, which I found works really well. And it's like an oil product that allows or breaks up this adhesive. So I'm just using my finger and just kind of breaking up this adhesive that's here on this surface. You can tell the blasting's really quick, but you do need to prepare to make sure, prepare your award or your project to make sure that it doesn't scratch and that you have everything ready, such as WD-40, a soft microfiber clean towel. So I'm just kind of using my finger with this solution here just to kind of break up any adhesive. And then I'm going to now rinse this off. I think this looks pretty good. American Acrylic recommends to use water to clean your product. Don't use any alcohol. That's something I didn't realize that. So that's something that they recommend. They said don't use any alcohol or products with alcohol in them. Okay. So we're just rinsing this really well. All right, let's clean this up. I have a clean towel. Here's another clean towel. And again, I'm just going to kind of wipe it in one direction. That actually is looking pretty good. I'm always afraid just to make sure that, I handle it carefully. And what's great is they have this really nice base. You would, of course, glue it, but you can see once you glue it to your base, you have this beautiful award. And that looks pretty good. I can tell a few more smudges, but I can definitely clean that up. So that's it. You're going to use 3mm SR2000 brush on the adhesive, but what's key is a very light layer. So you saw the amount of adhesive I applied, and then I used the side of my brush to kind of flatten out and remove the brush strokes. A couple of trial runs, I found that I saw the brush strokes in my engraving, and you want to make sure that you blast through all of the glue. So a light layer, 3mm, use glue, a light layer of glue, use 3mm, and you're just blasting until that glue is removed. That's it. Handle with care. All right, so we want to thank you, American Acrylic, for sponsoring the awards for this session. We really appreciate your support with our training sessions and teaching people that they can sand carve with acrylic as well as laser. So we hope you enjoyed this session. Let us know if there's any questions that you have or how we can help serve you and make your business successful. We'll talk to you soon.